created a bunch of color changes on our site. And what's important to note is that we did this on a style sheet file. This style sheet file is linked to all of our pages. So if you think about it, my index.html file is linked to my food style sheet. When I make a change to that style sheet file, being food style sheet right here, it then transfers over to be previewed on my index file. Well, this food style sheet.css is also being used by favorite food, favorite recipe, and least favorite food HTML files because they're linked. So when I make a file to change to this file, food style sheet.css, if I change colors or I change widths or heights or anything like that and I save it, it will not only affect the file I'm currently looking at, say index.html, but the other files as well because it's linked to all 4 of them. That's why it's called a cascading style sheet. Not only does it cascade across the elements, but it cascades to multiple files at the same time, which saves you tons of time and energy because now you don't need to go to the other pages and make the same changes. What's also great about this is that as we continue to make changes, it will continue to adjust all the pages at once, making them look consistent. We talked about how a template is really important and how the user wants your web page to be consistent so that they know where to find things. So the footer needs to be in the same spot. The buttons need to look the same. All of those types of things need to be consistent across your pages in your website so that the user knows how to get around. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make some cascading changes to center this whole page and go ahead and add padding to these boxes. So I'm going to go back to split view and I'm on my food style sheet.css. To center the information on the page, because right now, if I go to my site and I view it on the web, so if I go into my foods website folder and I open my index, you're going to see that right now, it's not centered on the page. It's on the left margin by default. In addition, right now I'm looking at a file on my page, on my computer. It's a local file. If I go to the web and I go to Foods website, sylvius.apz.com, and I guess I should probably put a W at the beginning of it, right? www.foodswebsite. If I go to sylviusfoodwebsite.apz.com, put the www at the beginning of it, we're going to see that the old colors are still there. So notice that the file on my computer has the new colors, but the file on the web server has the old colors. This means that I'm going to need to re-upload this once I'm done to replace the old files on the web server with the new files on my computer. But when we're all done, we'll do that and we'll be able to update it. So right now with this on the left side of the page, I'm going to go back to Dreamweaver and I'm going to make it center. Now, if you think about it, the center of the page changes. It changes depending on how wide your screen is. Is your screen as wide as mine? Are you looking at it on your phone? Are you looking at it on an iPad? Those screens are all very different. So what we want to do is make it very responsive in that design. We want it to respond to the size of the screen. So we're going to use a feature to be able to push it away from the sides of the page. So let's think about our CSS box model again, right? In your CSS box model, you have 4 options. You've got the content, you've got the border, you've got the padding, and then you've got the margin. So what's going to push the box away from the edge of the page? Is it going to be the padding or is it going to be the margin? It's going to be the margin. The margin is going to push the content physically away from the edge of the page. The padding pushes it inward in the box. So what we want to do is we want to add margin on the left and the right. But we want the computer to figure out what that margin is based on how wide the screen is. So what we're going to do is use a feature called Margin Auto. So in the header right here, I'm going to go ahead and click in my CSS inside the curly brackets and do a margin. But instead of doing a margin with a specific amount, I'm going to do a margin of auto. Auto and inherit are both options that are available for both your margin and your padding. And you'll see that when I do that, automatically, based on my screen right here, it's centered. And this is showing me a screen that is this wide at this point. I can take it and go into live view, and I can preview what it would look like on the right here if the screen was skinnier width-wise. So you can take this bar and preview it at whatever width you want, but notice how the image is moving based on how wide the page is. Going back into split view, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to my article and my nav. Now my article and my nav are both contained inside a tag together. They're contained inside the main tag. So if I add a margin auto to the main tag, it will control the spacing around the nav and the article. So I'm going to do that in my main tag and put a margin of auto here. And that will center the page contents. The last thing I need to center is my footer. So I'm going to go down to my footer and do the same thing. Now I have a centered website. So I'm going to go ahead and save this because it has a little asterisk here. So I'm going to hit Control S to save. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back to my preview of it on the web. I'm going to refresh this page to change it, to view the new file, and here it is at the same page, but now we have this margin auto on the left and the right. And as you adjust the width of your page, you'll see that it will move all together. That's pretty cool. And that's how you can go ahead and center a page on a website and using the CSS box model with the margin.